welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are doing well today. Well, it is the weekend and I am excited that we are here at this point in this juncture. It's been very cloudy over here on my side. I hope that it is much more sunnier skies for you guys, but I think we're still dealing with the remnants of that hurricane that just passed through. So that being said, at least it's quiet and a little bit peaceful, but definitely not sunny. And I wish it was more of that. Well, anyways, I am really glad that you are here. I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of do a bit of update to some of the stories that I've had shared on the platform in most recent times. And I had shared that I would be following these particular stories. So therefore, I wanted to kind of see what was going on with them and then bring it to you guys. Now, there's been a couple of things that have happened over the last month or half or so in regards to these particular stories, but I hadn't had an opportunity to share them and update you guys with it. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and do that today. And since it's a Saturday, I think what better day than to do it now, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with status updates on Justin Timberlake, Travis Scott, and Joey Lawrence. Now, if you recall, there was a DUI situation with Justin Timberlake a couple of months ago within the June timeframe where he was in Sag Harbor and he had gotten stopped and had received a DUI. Now, apparently, the attorneys that were going to be fighting on his behalf had said that, whatever came about that evening was not justified because he wasn't, in a position in order to receive that. So, of course, Justin had his day in court, and I believe that happened in July 26th. So I've got a couple of sharings that I'm going to provide, and it's going to take us back a little bit to that time frame of that court case, as well as what's actually just popped in a couple of days ago or so. Actually, yesterday, I think it was. So let's go ahead and get into that. But I also then to share just to keep going, so for Travis Scott, we know that he had he's had a few run-ins, hasn't he, over the years? One in particular that he had just had an issue with within the same time frame as Justin Timberlake's in the June situation was also area in which he was apparently what would be the right word, under the influence, and was causing a bit of a ruckus at a marine harbor in Miami. And so that was something that seemed to have been kind of quieted down after the incident actually occurred. But then he has another incident that happens on a really almost like a worldwide stage. So we're going to get into that a little bit as well, as far as the current status for him. And then lastly, we're going to jump into Joey Lawrence. As I had shared in a previous video, him and his wife, unfortunately, is going through a divorce. And that's, as you know, Joey Lawrence is an actor from many, many years, and started off as a childhood actor and still acts till this day, as well as his wife, who's also a fellow actress and has actually did a movie with him that was a Lifetime movie that I had shared in one of my last videos. And I actually saw that movie, and it was actually a pretty good one. So that being said, we are going to go ahead and just kind of get into that. But yeah, it's just a lot going on. He's kind of getting to a position where he's actually going to speak. I'm just trying to check something here. And so, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into that. All right. So let's go ahead and hit with the first story. And that is the Justin Timberlake. So now, according to ABC7ny.com, which I'm pretty sure that's New York, it looks like Justin Timberlake had pled not guilty to the DWI again. An attorney apparently was threatened with a gag order by the judge. Now, this particular sharing had happened in early August, which is right around the time frame of when he actually had his appearance, because his appearance was July 26th. So my guess is it's something connected to that appearance. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, Sag Harbor, New York, singer Justin Timberlake had appeared virtually in court from his world tour in Europe on Friday, where he had pleaded not guilty at his second arraignment arraignment for DWI, which would have been that July 26th day. Now, Timberlake, 43, had looked somber and serious as he'd entered his plea. He was wearing a black button-down shirt and appeared virtually to court in Sag Harbor due to being on tour. Remember that world tour. Now, the singer was rearraigned after his attorney, Edward Burke, noticed a superior officer did not sign the initial charging papers from the June 18th arrest. It says, "We are maintaining Justin was not intoxicated at the time of the traffic stop," Burke said. Now, surveillance video had captured Timberlake driving his car in Sag Harbor before his arrest. He was pulled over after police say he failed to stop and failed to maintain his lane of travel and performed poorly on a field sobriety test. Now, Burke had filed a motion to dismiss the charges, citing the error, but he withdrew the motion Friday after Sag Harbor Village Justice Carl Irace noted that law enforcement would likely have to rearrest Timberlake, calling it an undue burden on the defendant. Now, Judge Iris threatened Burke with a gag order, but the attorney said, "I don't see that happening. Hey, we all have jobs to do. We are obligated to zealously defend our clients, and that's what I plan on doing," Burke said. He was reprimanded by the judge for making irresponsible comments after last week's hearing. Now, Justin should not have been arrested for driving while intoxicated. This is what the attorney is saying. The police made a number of very significant errors in this case. You heard the DA try to fix one of those errors, but that's just one, and that's the signing of the paperwork, right? And there are many others. Sometimes the police, like everyone else, make mistakes. And that's the case in this very instance, Burke said on that July 26th date. Timberlake does not have to appear then, but the judge said the day may come when he may have to appear in person and asked his attorney to come up with a date. He said Timberlake may have to appear in court on September 13th and asked the attorney to make sure his client is available. The singer does not have a concert that night, so therefore that should make it easier, right? Now, the former NSYNC singer's license is suspended under the arrest, but as he has an out-of-state license, it only bars him from driving in New York. So that doesn't seem like things went that well for the lawyer, but all is not lost. It seems like something probably helped in the case as of September 13th. So let's go ahead and get into that. Now, according to, again, ABC7ny.com, the update to this is Justin Timberlake reaches deal to resolve DWI and Sag Harbor, sources tell ABC News. All right, hold on one second. We're still dealing with a little bit of issues with technology here, so just give me just a second there. All right, so let's get back into that. Thank you very much. All right, so Sag Harbor in New York, Justin Timberlake has reached a deal to resolve the DWI in Sag Harbor. Sources familiar with the matter told ABC News. Now, Timberlake, 43, is expected to appear Friday in Sag Harbor, which would have been just yesterday, Village Court, to plead guilty and pay a fine, resolving the misdemeanor charges, the sources said. Interesting. Now, Timberlake was leaving the American Hotel when he was stopped for running a stop sign and swerving into the oncoming lane. At a hearing last month, which was that July 27th hearing, a judge had suspended Timberlake's right to drive in New York. But again, as that only really worked for the New York, he could drive everywhere else, right? Now, his lawyer Burke has maintained that Timberlake was not drunk at the case, and that he was not drunk, and that the case should be dropped. Now, Timberlake's license would remain suspended under the arrangement, although he is not a New York State driver. So, really doesn't make a lot of sense, I guess, as far as how it will really determine his day and what he does if he's not hanging out in New York. Now, Timberlake is believed to have to physically be in court, obviously, to accept the plea, which apparently he was. So it looks like he got a point of where he just was going to go ahead and plead guilty to some misdemeanor charges and go ahead and pay a fine, and that would resolve that element. It doesn't appear that there's probably going to be much more to go. because this is the plea that's being set up. At this point, we'll see if anything else comes about the situation. Maybe there'll be an update to close the matter altogether to say everything's been signed off and good to go. It did appear that Justin had actually stepped out and did a bit of a press conference outside of the courthouse to kind of address some of the things that maybe took place in that case at that time. At this point, it appears that he's getting a plea deal. He's going to pay some fines, and he's got a suspended license for the state of New York. How that impacts the rest of his life, doesn't seem like it'd be much as long as he's not driving to New York. So I would love to know your thoughts. I mean, maybe this is at the end of the day, typical for this kind of situation. I don't know. I have not been in this situation, thank God, and I don't know anyone else that has. So if you're someone that may be familiar about a situation where this is something similar charge that might have happened to someone, and you want to share your thoughts about what you think about, was this a too lenient situation, or was this, effective enough of a punishment? I'd love to know your thoughts respectfully down in the comment section. So go ahead and drop those down there for us, because I'm just curious as to, kind of get people's a perspective on how they thought that the punishment, whether or not it really did fit the situation, or if it did, and we should now be able to move on. So I'd love to again know your thoughts on that. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to our second update, which is Mr. Travis Scott. Which Travis Scott, boy, I tell you what, I'm going to kind of reserve some of my feelings in regards to what I'm thinking may or may not be going on, or what could at least definitely be an encouraging element to what might be going on. I don't really know. These are obviously my opinions. So, and I definitely would like to know yours too, respectfully down below. So, at least in the moment here, before going through this updated sharing, we do know that the last video that I had shared was that issue that I had shared just a few minutes ago, where Travis had an issue with being under the influence and causing some ruckus around 4:30, something like that in the morning at a Miami marina. It seemed to be where they didn't want to really do any arrests, but they just wanted Travis to be removed, because it obviously was a noise ordinance situation going on there. So it seems like things got pretty quieted at that point. And then we, fast forward to the Paris Olympics, and then you have one of the basketball games that are associated with that. And next thing we see is now he's being arrested again for some kind of scuffle in Paris. So it's like, okay, we just had one issue, and now we're going across the waters, and we're now creating another issue on a much greater stage, as if knowing about the initial situation that happened in June wasn't bad enough. So let's go ahead and get into his story. Now, this update is going to be a little bit longer in content, because there was a lot to share, and they do speak about some of what was going on in the essence of the Miami situation, because like I said, that seemed to be quite quiet. So the update to that means that they're probably not moving any further than where they're at. And now the current status is what he's dealing with at this point with the Paris situation. So let's go ahead and get into that sharing. Now, according to Newsbreak and Daily Mail, it says that American rapper Travis Scott is arrested in Paris after a fight at a five-star hotel hours after cheering on U.S. basketball stars in the Olympics semifinals. Now, famed American rapper Travis Scott was arrested in the center of Paris early that morning after an altercation at a five-star hotel, local media had reported. Now, of course, we had all heard that, kind of unfold within probably hours. So policemen were called to the George V Hotel and arrested Travis Scott for violence against a security agent. The latter had intervened to separate the rapper from his bodyguard, the Paris prosecutor's office said in a statement. The famed American rapper, whose real name is Jacques Berman Webster, was detained by gendarmes at the George V Hotel in the French capital's 8th arrondissement French outlet. Valeris Actualis reported. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. The incident is said to have occurred around 5 a.m., just steps away from the Champs-Élysées, according to a police source. The rapper was intoxicated at the time of the confrontation. He was not in the right condition to be questioned straight away, so was put in a cell where he was still there to sober up. The singer was set to be questioned on Friday, because this broke out, I want to say, the first week of August, by judicial police, as a Paris police source confirmed that his condition did not initially allow him to be questioned. So they wanted to set him out a little bit until he was much more, maybe even less belligerent and able to talk and, really maybe even defend himself. Now, he's suspected of violence against another person and is being held in a cell, the source had said. Now, previous reports in France had originally said Scott had gotten into a fight with his bodyguard. Lawyers for Scott have not yet commented on his arrest. Scott is currently in Paris for the Olympic Games. Now, of course, that was at the time of this sharing. He was notably seen on Thursday evening, August 8th, attending the men's basketball semifinal between Serbia and the United States. This comes after the rapper was arrested in Miami, which we just talked about that back in June, after being involved in a disturbance on a yacht. Now, cops interrogated him about whether he had been drinking, and Scott had replied, "Well, hey, it's Miami." He also responded to the night's chaos with a series of lighthearted tweets to calm fans' fears about his upcoming tour, and an edited version of his blurry-eyed mugshot snapped shortly after his arrest. Because yes, that tour has got to be the most pressing thing that we can come up with, right? Not that we have the issues that it just seems to continue to evolve, but I don't know, is that part of the look? Is that part of the mystique of the individual? I guess we'll just have to find out. Now, Scott then wrote LOL on X and shared his booking photo complete with the Photoshop shades and earphones via Instagram stories. So somebody's not taking this very seriously. The Sicko Mode singer is the former partner, obviously, of Kylie Jenner. We all know that, who he has 2 children with, Stormi and Aya. Now, Scott and the Kylie Cosmetics founder, 26, have had an on and off relationship since 2017, but are currently not together. Just a week before his June arrest, Scott was involved in a skirmish with Jenner's previous ex, Tyga and Can't. Over the years, the rapper has had a few run-ins with the law. Now, most notably, and I will go ahead and just put out there, trigger warning at this point, because we're going to talk about really the devastation of what was 2021's Astroworld disaster. So let's go ahead and get into that, a trigger on that. Most notably, he was at the forefront of the 2021 Astroworld disaster, where 10 people had lost their lives and hundreds more were injured while attending the rapper's musical festival at NRG Park in Houston, Texas, in a deadly crush. On November 5th, 2021, hundreds of people were filmed stampeding through a VIP entrance at the Live Nation organized event, sparking fears of overcrowding and poor crowd control. Travis Scott was filmed continuing to perform after 8 people were crushed to death, including 2 victims aged just 14 and 16, with one witness saying it was a floor of bodies. Now, videos circulating on Twitter showed the crowd chanting, "Stop the show, stop the show," while the concert was declared a mass casualty event at 9:38 p.m. The concert continued until 10:15 p.m., for which Scott, who was headlining and promoting the festival, was heavily criticized. Now, I'm pretty sure all of y'all, if you were paying any attention to what was going on the planet during this time, you most certainly are fully aware of this story. Now, the rapper, alongside the festival's organizers, Live Nation and Score More, faced numerous civil lawsuits accusing them of negligence and wrongful death. However, in June of last year, which would have been 2023, a Houston grand jury had decided Scott would not face criminal charges for his role in the deadly crowd surge. Now, I hadn't heard about that update to that situation and did wonder what was going on with that. If you were aware of that, feel free to share that down below in the comment section, because I did not know. So here we go, news to me. Now, in November last year, 2 years after the stampede, Scott broke his silence on Astroworld in an interview with GQ and said he was overly devastated by the tragedy, adding that he thought about the disaster all the time. And how could you not, right? How could you not? Scott said, making music, you think about things that go on in life and things that happen in your life, and you dial in on those things. That moment for families, for the city, it was devastating. And when it came to making, even finishing the album, I got back into it probably months and months and months after. And the idea of just even getting back into music, working on music, and just even getting into that was therapeutic, of being able to channel some of the energy into production and sounds and finishing it. So using the crisis as a way of motivation to continue to do your work. Okay. I mean, I was just overly devastated, Yeah, yeah, I always think about it. Those fans were like my family. I love my fans to the utmost. And, we have definitely heard that most often from him. Now, in May of this year, Scott and Live Nation had settled 9 wrongful death lawsuits. And may I go ahead and say, definitely my thoughts and prayers to the family, continued thoughts and prayers to the family, and for those who did lose their lives, may they continue to rest in peace. That was a devastating situation, I'm sure, for all of you who were fully aware of it, as I was, because like I said, you would have to have been someplace else, not on this planet, when that situation had erupted. It seemed to be one of those few festival events or concert events that started to open up, when the world started to open up a little bit to, feeling more able to be outside, if you will. And so it was just such a tragic situation. We had all been pretty much hunkered down for a long period of time. And so then you hear something like this, it was just one thing after another, and it was completely devastating for sure. And so I'd wondered, when I started hearing about the things about Travis Scott and all this constant running into issues with the law, I wondered if maybe that situation, as it would be understandable, obviously would have hurt so much and had been so much of a weighing thought for him, because it was such a devastating situation. And, even if you are or are not responsible, there's been a lot of conversation about who really should be or who really isn't. At the end of the day, when you're a part of something like that, when something so devastating like that happens, there is no way, unless you are not human, that you cannot feel for that situation and want to try to do what you can to do something, right? I mean, obviously, whatever you do, you're not able to fortunately bring people back, but you don't want to walk around in a situation as if it's no big deal, because it is a big deal, right? People lost their lives behind what was going on. It was awful. So I wondered, when I first heard about his June situation, I thought, maybe he's kind of, wilding out a bit. And maybe that's because it's an aftermath of that. Did he get a chance to really actually go through some real therapy? I get, for a lot of people, therapy, especially with music, is doing the music. A lot of people will find that when you go through breakups and divorces or makeups or just trials and tribulations in life, when you try to put that into your art, it can be a therapeutic way. But is that enough when you're dealing with devastating situations such as the Astroworld situation? Could there be more done to try to work through those situations? And that's the question, right? Can there be? Should there be? And maybe there could be. In my opinion, I would imagine that it would take a lot more than, doing music, but maybe some other ways of coping, definitely to where you're not in a position of constantly running in with something with the law. Obviously, there is an issue there with being under the influence, because both issues have had that being a circled around moment. So hopefully he will look to finding a way to getting that under wraps and taken care of, because it's going to need to be at some point, right? He does have 2 young children, as we know, and take the celebrity out of the situation. I would hate for a situation where he wasn't there to be able to do what he needed to do in helping to raise those children. So that's the human side of things, right? But at the end of the day, it's just, whenever you open up an article or you see something like this, you just like kind of, want to say, could you please just stop and get some help or get yourself together, whatever that means, but stop doing this, right? So, who knows, then I see that there was some other issues that have happened in the past. He's no stranger to having these issues. I think it's unfortunate. That's my opinion and my feelings on that. I would love to know what your thoughts are of this situation. Do you think that there may be things that are connected to certain things that have happened that is what is continually, plaguing him in a way that allows him to continue to run into these types of situations? Definitely go ahead and leave those thoughtful and respectful comments down below. We can have a conversation about it. I would love to know your thoughts about that. Some people are going to probably feel like, look, he is, it's becoming menacing type of behavior. It doesn't mean he's the only person that does this type of behavior, but at some point, when do we kind of just say, I don't need to be the center of attention of everything, especially if something negative, especially after something like that had happened. Now, I know that people are on either side of the fence on who was to blame about that situation. It seems like there were some things that were settled, but that's not going to quell, people's feelings and thoughts about that situation, as devastating as it was. So, continue thoughts and prayers to those individuals. And again, your respectful and thoughtful comments down below about that and what your thoughts are on that is definitely welcome. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up with Joey Lawrence and his situation with this divorce. Now, as you would have recalled, if you did get a chance to see the video, if not, I hope you will after this video, maybe take a look at it, but I went into much greater details. But as a kind of an overview, a quick one, Joey Lawrence, as you know, is an actor, been an actor for a very long time. He was married to one of his co-stars from one of his Lifetime movies, actually, Samantha Cope. And now I think they were married for like 2 or 3 years, something to that extent. They have a baby together. And yeah, they were going through life, and apparently a huge bump in the road happened. There was allegations of infidelity on Joey's part with another co-star from another movie that I believe is up and coming and would be coming out. But I wonder now, with this tainted situation, if they're going to continue to move forward with it, because, it brings me to the fact of when I think about the girl from Twilight, when she was with the girl who plays Bella, Kristen Stewart, and she was with Robert Pattinson, and then, she had an affair with a director, I believe one of the directors of the movie, the Snow White film that she ended up doing. And then when all that exploded, the pictures came out and everybody saw that. It really, I think, did hurt her situation in the professional manner. It made people look at the next Twilight, movie a little bit differently, because, as people do, sometimes we get caught up with the movie aspect of the romance that's attached to that and that love story. And then you see that there's a love story outside of it. So they must coincide into two. Now, for me, I can compartmentalize, like, some of us can definitely do. And I could actually enjoy the movie for what it was and just like, oh, well, it is what it is. But that was a huge situation. So I do wonder, and I think that might have affected the numbers possibly for the subsequent Snow White films, which was set to be like this massive situation. And I don't think that it hit the same way because of the morality thought of that affair. It broke up, two situations. I believe that director, and I think he was a director, was married. So it broke up his marriage, which, that's a no-no, right? And then, of course, her and Robert Pattinson, they had been together for many, many years. And I think that there was a concept of a thought that there might be a marriage ensue for them. And so just really blew up everything. And so I wonder if that's something that Joey may end up experiencing with his upcoming movie that he's got coming up. So we'll just have to see. I'm definitely going to keep abreast and I'll share those as those updates come. But at this point, the allegations are what is being shared as a possibility for why the divorce is going through. And with that being said, that came out. So Joey has now decided to speak. So let's go ahead and see what he is sharing. And you might be a little bit surprised. He's not only debunking the situation of that allegation, along with also the co-star that also says that that's not what was going on. He's thinking in something else that could be just as equally devastating and definitely a marriage, killer. So we'll see what happens and see what comes out of that. But let's go ahead and get into this sharing. So, according to usmagazine.com, Joey Lawrence claims his estranged wife, Samantha Cope, didn't accept his 2 oldest daughters. Like, what? Okay, that's a huge turn from an allegation of infidelity. So let's get into it. Now, Joey Lawrence claimed that his marriage to Samantha Cope broke down over her alleged issues with his eldest daughters. As a father, my 3 daughters are my world. They are and always will be my top priority, Lawrence 48 wrote in a lengthy Thursday, August 29th Instagram statement. The unraveling of my marriage was tied to my realization that there was no way my 2 eldest daughters were ever going to be accepted by my wife to be part of my family. Now, that is completely devastating if that is true. He continued, I cannot and will not compromise on the love and care that my daughters deserve. And this realization played a significant role in the breakdown of my relationship. Now, Lawrence shares daughters Charleston, 18, and Liberty, 14, with ex-wife Shandy Yon Nelson. 2 years after his divorce was finalized, the Blossom alum and Cope, 37, had welcomed their daughter Dylan in 2023. Swiftly confirmed in August that Cope had filed for divorce, which I shared in that previous video, requesting sole custody of their 19-month-old daughter. And Lawrence did not immediately address Cope's divorce petition, but noted on Thursday that it was a difficult time. So just to bring you to speed as to what he shared with everyone, he says, with a deep sense of responsibility, I want to respond to the recent allegations surrounding my personal life, including my divorce and the claims of an affair with Melina Alves. Melina and I became close friends, and I did not have a physical relationship with her while filming the movie Socked In for Christmas. These rumors are false. Our bond was based on shared experiences and an understanding of the challenges we were both facing in our personal lives. Further on, he says, I understand that my life is often in the public eye, and with that comes a level of scrutiny that can be difficult to bear, he wrote. However, I must emphasize that the well-being of my children is of the utmost importance, as it should be. And thank you for your understanding and respect as I navigate this difficult chapter in my family's life. Now, one day after Cope had filed for divorce, Lawrence was accused of infidelity, as I shared in my previous video. TMZ had obtained divorce documents of his Socked In for Christmas co-star Melina Alves. In the filing, Alves' estranged husband, Edward Ryder, had claimed that Alves, 40, and Lawrence were having an affair. Both Alves and Lawrence denied the accusations, citing that they were solely friends while filming the holiday movie. So, with all intents and purposes, everything is alleged, right? Now, Lawrence further claimed that at the time, he still was clinging to the hope that his marriage with Cope could be salvaged. In my heart, I knew it was beyond saving, he added. My short-lived marriage was fraught with difficulties from the beginning. Our differences became insurmountable. Alves, meanwhile, claimed in a Wednesday, August 28th statement that she was separated from Ryder when she had met Lawrence. That does give a bit of an issue with the timeline, right? Now, Cope has not responded to Lawrence's allegations, and Us Weekly reached out for comment and apparently has not heard anything as of yet. So let's kind of dive into this just a little bit. Now, as I shared and has been reiterated in this sharing, that allegations of infidelity was what was put at forth of mind for why this split was happening. It did appear that Melina Alves, the co-star, husband, had actually filed first, but it looked as if it had happened in subsequent to that situation. But now what Alves is now saying, which was not shared in the previous video that I had shared because it wasn't part of the update at that time, is now saying that she was already at the point of separation with her husband by that time. So that couldn't be the reason, is what it sounds like to me, right? So at this point, there's a couple of items in here that really does come to play, which is one, the timeline of the situation, and two, this situation, how we now come to the acceptance of children. Now, one of the things that was shared in the previous video that I had provided is that there was an accusation of love bombing that was happening from Joey to Samantha, which in essence, we all know it to be, for the most part, where you are basically just showered with all the love really fast and furious, and to the point where you're just so under the love spell that you may not see all the red flags. And that's kind of what that felt like it was insinuating, right? So it's interesting when he shares about the fact that no, we had problems and issues pretty much from the beginning, and they just kept trying to move past that. It makes me wonder just how much you two really knew each other before jumping into a marriage, right? Because this is not his first rodeo, and I'm not sure about Samantha's. Now, we all know that it's nice to be whisked up off your feet and to be loved in such a way that it becomes very romantic, that you find each other other. It's kismet. You're just can't get enough of each other. Then you run into the altar, and then the next thing you know, flame is out. Right? We see another couple that had that kind of a situation with the flame going out pretty quickly. Right? And so I wonder if is there any truth to that possible love bombing accusation? Not sure if it is. He hasn't said anything to that effect, other than just to address that there was no such thing as far as infidelity is concerned. But either way, an infidelity, not infidelity set aside, this connection with the children that he's had from a previous relationship, which I find it to be interesting that there would be an issue, and you would think that'd be something you would find out in the beginning. Now, if you know anyone, or if you experienced this yourself and you know want to share, feel free down below, any examples of where you could say, yeah, this has been something that I have, experienced or seen experienced. But the bottom line is, when it comes to the children, everybody's got to accept everybody. Now, I'm not one to say that when you get married to someone that you marry their family per se, right? But when it comes to the children, there has to be an acceptance of the children. That's part of the package, right? And that's not to say that what he's saying is, true, right? This is what he's insinuating. Samantha has not come out and said that is the case. I don't think she would, but we don't know anything from her side of it. We don't know her side of the story. So we're not going to just necessarily go with it, but just in hypothetics and in our opinions, when you're dealing with the navigating of a situation with two adults getting together and getting married, if there's children involved, there has to be some sense of understanding, which you don't always see that in every case. And a lot of times those relationships don't work out. And, but we've been on this planet long enough to know that if those things are not in incompatible, I can't think of the word now, but if they're not in sync, then at the end of the day, it's not going to work, right? At the end of the day, the children are an important facet of this dynamic. And so it's just unfortunate that now another child's been brought into this situation. She was just born in 2023, and here her family's already broken up. Like, that's not cool. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be much room for reconciliation here, but stranger things have happened in matters of love. Anything can happen, anything can go. But at this point, it is a very sensitive situation to have a divorce, especially if you two were madly in love and, really thought that you could see that you can go the distance. So I do find it to be unfortunate that yet another splitting of the family is occurring. And, it just would, I guess, be helpful when you can see all the things that don't work out before you make that leap of faith. But, we're not there, so we don't know all the reasons why that even came into play, but it's definitely a lesson learned. So obviously I wish the best for both of them, and I'll definitely be keeping abreast to see what changes happen or updates happen. And then if they do, I'll be sure, as I've already kind of shared about this situation, I'll bring it to the platform as an update. But hopefully they will find some peace in the situation, and we'll be able to get through it and get the healing that they need and move forward, and maybe potentially find mates later on that more are a fit for them. But at the end of the day, even with this situation, there's still going to be a family dynamic there because they do have a child together. So we'll just have to see how all that unfolds, or we don't have to, they will. And, wishing the best for them and his kids and everybody else as well. And I guess that's going to wrap it up for the updates to these 3 stories. I do appreciate you being here. And of course, if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe and be part of the family. I like to, have conversation and chat about these types of stories, whether it's celeb, non-celeb, or worthy news, doesn't matter. Anything that's going on, we want to talk about it, and just when you think about it, a lot of these things are, we're all humans, right? So whether you're a celebrity or not celebrity, you may be going through similar things. So there's always some kind of conversation that can be had around that. And as I enjoy community and building community within conversation and communication, this is something that I absolutely enjoy here. So if that's something that you're into as well, feel free to definitely be part of the family, because I would so love to have you. And if you do appreciate the updates, go ahead and give this video a like. Of course, it helps the video, and I would truly appreciate that as well. A little tied tongue there. I do have another video that I'm going to be bringing up on the platform as well. So definitely make sure you have your all notification bells on so you don't miss any of the uploads. And I also have had a few videos that have popped up on the platform. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, be sure to do so. I've got one of the videos where if you're into Real Housewives of Potomac in particular, they are going to be premiering here very, very soon. So I do have a bit of a where are they now and what's going on and how's the cast looking up, who's going to be cast members, all of that great information and added details are in that video. So make sure that you do check that out. It's for the season 9 premiere to come up. And also I have a video where I talk about, the upheaval that's going on with Roni, or not Roni, excuse me, New Jersey's Housewives franchise. So if you do watch that, I do have a bit of an update by the perspective of Melissa, as she did do a recent interview about her thoughts about the cast shakeups and what's kind of going on at this point with the show. So yeah, definitely check that one out as well if you are interested, and leave your thoughts respectively down below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about both those stories and the things that are shared within those videos, as well as for this one too. So with that, thank you again for being here. I so do appreciate it. And I wish for you a great rest of the day, but definitely make sure you have that bell on for your notifications so you'll notify for all the uploads coming up. And until next time, I'm going to bid you adieu, but you take care. Bye.